I made it. Yes.
You made it. We're so glad. Pat, it is like the coolest thing to remember that you were the very, very first reader on a Cultivating Voices live
It was. Thank you. Yeah.
poetry program.
Oh,
Yeah. It's nice to be back.
So that has some really good mojo to it. So in honor of that, we put you first and we hope that's okay. Your
Yeah.
sound is great, your lighting is great,
Okay. Good.
and we will go in the order poets that were listed, the order that was listed on the poster, starting with Pat, then Ash, then Lisa Ashley, then Pamela, then Scott, then Cindy, then Katy. So we're waiting for them to arrive to check their sound. Hopefully, we have about 6.5 minutes before we'll start. We're so glad everyone is here. Sure, please feel free. You do not need to be muted at this time. This is just our casual pre-show hello, welcome, sound check time. Feel free to
Hi,
jump
Scott.
in.
hey, Pat.
Hello, I've been here a couple of times. I don't have a book published with you, but I have books. Um, I have read, I think, once. I've read in your open mic,
Lovely.
but I like listening as well.
Me too,
So,
Mona.
yeah.
It's inspiring and
Yes, it is.
stimulating, it juices up the engine a little bit, I think.
Hmm. Yep.
I last listened to the session with the Irish poets, and
Wonderful.
that was so delightful because I love the Irish accent.
Oh, no
So it
doubt.
was on top of the wonderful poems. That was really fun too.
Yeah. We did a show in spring of 24 when Sandy and I were in Ireland together, and it was a hybrid, which was really fun. It was the first time we attempted one where some of the readers were just like we are now coming into the Zoom room, and some of us were all together in Ireland in a space. And it was a poet's focus with the word lyric. And we were just laughing the whole time we were planning for it because we're like, all Irish poets write lyrical poetry, and listening to Irish folks speak and tell stories is a lyrical experience.
Okay.
Like it was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was a really beautiful. And here comes one of our readers, Katy.
Ah, good.
And
Yeah, Tess Gallagher reading here yesterday.
oh, I
Oh,
bet it was
It was
fabulous.
fabulous.
I'm jealous.
Telling a couple Irish stories.
Oh,
Oh, hi,
fantastic.
Cindy. Could you turn on your mic? We want to test your sound.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Cindy.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Cindy. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you sound great. We're so happy you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Katie.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Katy.
Yeah.
Welcome. Yes, you sound great.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So we have maybe about 3.5 minutes before we start. I'm going to put up my welcome sign one more time here in the chat. I will welcome everyone today in Sandy's stead. She is finishing up a very long training project that she's been working on weekends here and there over the last, I think, year and a half, maybe a little longer. And so I will introduce what we're doing today, say a little bit about WordPress, Lana, and Thomas, and then Thomas will introduce each of you. And as we go through the reading, I will also be sharing your bios in the chat, sharing information to links to websites or pages about your work, and then I will also be promoting links to purchase points. And then tomorrow on Facebook, I'll reiterate that information in a post celebrating and sharing the recordings and the archives we keep of those recordings.
Yeah, great.
And feel free to share on that information in any way you like in your own communities. And hopefully we'll sell some great poetry books from MoonPath Press.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
All right. Any other questions from our readers? Is everybody all set? We have 10 minutes, everyone, for each set. Starting with Pat, 10 minutes. And, we want to try to stick to that if we can so that we can
So,
fit everyone and everything in our 90-minute time frame.
Kim, if you're the host, maybe you could rename Cindy. She's Cindy Beach right now, but Cindy
Yeah,
Veach would be
That was
better.
it was a typo when I registered. I'm not sure how to change it on here
let me
now.
see if I can,
Sorry.
I thought maybe it was some sort of inside joke that you and those who share, there you go.
Well, most people want to spell it that way, so it's funny that the V and the B are right next to each other, and I was rushing on my phone, so
But it's not a surfing day, so it
Oh,
can't be.
you're corrected now.
thank you.
Yes. I see a question in the chat. Today is not an open mic. Today is a new book showcase that we curated in collaboration with MoonPath Press. We will have a wild card open mic coming up next Sunday if you want to come back and sign up for that. Sign-ups happen in the 15 minutes before program start time. First come, first serve, very transparently. People just type their name into the chat and I take them in the order that they appear in the chat. So today, thanks to those of you who are here to read with us. Thanks to those of you who are here to listen like me and be fed by this nourishing feast of poetry. And Don, whenever you're ready, I will get the ball rolling. Welcome to Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, everyone. Today it is our November new book showcase. I'm standing in for Sandy Yanone as she is unable to be with us as she completes a special training she's been committed to for more than a year now. But I will not be talking very much. I'm going to give a few announcements and a little preamble, and then I'm going to turn it over to our longtime member friend and wonderful poet, Thomas A. Thomas, who will introduce our readers today. So for this new book showcase today, we are featuring all poets from MoonPath Press, and we have a wonderful lineup. Pat Dixon, Lisa Ashley, Pamela Hobart Carter, Scott Dalgarno, Cindy Veach, and Katy E. Ellis in that order. Each of those poets will be reading for 10 minutes from new collections and perhaps a few poems from new writing or older collections as well. It's up to them, but we will be giving you information about their most recent collections and how you might purchase that or explore more about these poets as we go along. So we hope that you will give the best gift of all to yourself or to someone you care about, and that is a book or two or three or six of poetry. Before we begin, I will say that the chat is available. Please show your love and appreciation for the work that you're hearing as we go along. And poets, if you have any content warnings that you feel might help our audience members, if there's really difficult subject matter that you might be sharing in a poem, just saying this next poem addresses child abuse or some such, lets our listeners hear and out and on Facebook who are watching the live stream or later on watching the recordings to just regulate for themselves what they can manage. So we really appreciate that if it's relevant to anything you might be sharing today. Well, without further ado, it's so wonderful to see this many folks in the room. Thank you all for being here to listen, and thank you to our poets. we couldn't be more excited. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're sharing today. These are all poets published by MoonPath Press. And I want to give a little shout out to Lana Ayres, poet, novelist, publisher, and time travel enthusiast. She facilitates right-away generative writing workshops, leads private salons for book groups, teaches at writers' conferences. Lana is a Hedgebrook alum and holds an MFA from Seton Hill University, as well as degrees in poetry, psychology, and mathematics. In addition to thriving in the book-loving culture, she enjoys the Pacific Northwest's bountiful rain and abundant coffee shops, and her favorite color is the swirl of Van Gogh's Starry Night. She has also featured as a poet herself many times on Cultivating Voices, but here today we're giving her some credence and appreciation as an editor and publisher. And working with her and here to help host today is Thomas A. Thomas, a longtime member and friend of many of us and a wonderful, wonderful poet. He is an award-winning poet and photographer based in the Pacific Northwest with roots in Illinois and training from the University of Michigan. He has earned recognition for his compelling poetry and evocative photography. And if any of you are friends with Thomas on Facebook, it will light up your screen when he shares it. His work appears in prominent journals and anthologies across multiple languages. He currently serves on the board of the Olympia Poetry Network. Many of you here today are connected or members or have appreciated the programs they put on, including myself, and remains active in creative communities. His latest collection, My Heart Is Not Asleep, wonderful poetry, inspired by caring for his wife with Alzheimer's, explores the depths of love and loss. And so, Thomas, what is your official title with MoonPath now?
Oh my, assistant managing editor.
Yeah, and I guess it's really, truly wonderful to get to work with Lana, huh?
It is. It
Yes,
is.
indeed.
And
And all
everyone
these great
there,
poets.
actually.
Yeah, and all these great poets. So thank you so much for being our guest host to introduce these wonderful poets. I will be sharing their bios as you read them, and everyone enjoy the reading and have a wonderful time. And I'll be listening with all my ears.
Thank you so much, Kim Parsons, and thank you, Don, the man behind the curtain, uh, without whom this show would not go on. I want to say greetings and salutations to everyone here today and watching from the future on YouTube or Facebook recordings. This is, as Kim mentioned, a special edition of Cultivating Voices live poetry. We have a kaleidoscopic new book showcase today. And yes, for those joining from afar, I am Thomas A. Thomas, and I just missed. I'm about 2 weeks behind Patrick for being an early adopter here and being welcomed into the family of Cultivating Voices Live before there were 6,000 people joining us. I've got big boats for women's size shoes to fill today, so I hope I can do it. Thanks profoundly for this opportunity, and thanks to Lana. If she makes it, that would be lovely, but she can also watch the recording. I guess I'll just go straight to one of my dear friends and heroes, Patrick Dixon, the first ever Cultivating Voices live reader, way back in 2020. Take us away, Pat.
Okay. My MoonPath Press book is titled Mending Holes, and the poems were inspired by 20 years of commercial fishing up in Alaska, where I lived for 23 years. And I fished on Cook Inlet, which is the body of water south of Anchorage. And what better way to start than with a blessing for the fishermen? To the gods who do not care, indifferent to our feeble desires, please, just for a moment, listen. Calm your waves, unbundle your clouds, hold your winds. Let fish come and let fish go. Let the work tire them, make them ache for home. Above all, spare them, grant them passage, send them back. And then this next poem is a poem I wrote pretty much as kind of a looking backwards at my first day fishing with my first skipper I was a deckhand. And the title is Boat Puller. And a boat puller is a deckhand. Before hydraulics, you had to pull the net on board by hand. And the net was 300 yards long, so there was a lot of net. And really, you were pulling the boat backwards along the net. And I have a line about getting a salmon out of the bag, which is a twisted up net around a fish. And red salmon are sockeye, and that's what we fished for. This is for Jim, my first skipper. We were alone on the boat, a green deckhand and a middle-aged Norwegian, riding emerald rollers, sprinkled with drops of gold in the late afternoon sun. And though you were teaching me how to get a salmon out of the bag without popping the mesh, I was somewhere else. Off the stern, I saw myself, neck deep in Indiana, floundering in all those years of not knowing who I was or how to escape who I had become. Drowning in aching nights, spent hoping for the moment I might know a way to set my feet upon a path of my own. While I was picking fish with you, stunned at the sight of the sea so near and the mountains filling the western sky, I thought of dry Midwestern cornfields and of lost, empty days filled with a wish to leave, but nowhere to go. You bent over a red to show me how to use a fish pick, never realizing what was happening to me, how you were stripping away the web of my past life, pulling me through to solid ground. And then this next one, I'll give a trigger warning for this one. This is about a couple of friends of mine who passed away. It's called Overboard, and it's for Jeff and Debbie. It was a cannery truck, we said afterward. Unreliable. It would stall when he slowed down. He probably coasted through the stop sign. Bone cancer doesn't relent, the doctors told her. Go, live, enjoy the time you have left. For 5 years, she did exactly that. Dove the Great Barrier Reef, went to China, fished the lake behind her cabin with her niece. When she was done, she slipped away overnight. It doesn't take much. A gentle roll of the boat as the wake passes, the brush of an elbow, and the power drill, set too close to the edge, tips and tumbles overboard. You see it roll, watch without moving, frozen in a dream. It doesn't even complete a full circle before it hits the water. That flashlight or 10-inch crescent wrench, or your cell phone slipping out of your pocket as you bend down, in the air before you know it. It lands on the water's surface like you land on the bed after a long day, blankets fluffing, rising as they are displaced, absorbing the impact and falling back again. Only the water receives and moves aside. And your knife, the one you spent all those seasons sharpening, the one you got in France years ago on vacation, a gift from the vendor who loved that you were a commercial fisherman and insisted you take it, is suddenly out of reach, beneath the surface, fading, getting smaller and dimmer as it recedes from you and all your memories of it, out of your grasp, forever, in an instant. Like your friend, who tipped over the edge after the struggle to hang on to the rail while the disease rolled under her, or the buddy who was brushed away in the morning light when a car crested the hill and elbowed him into the air before he knew it. A short fall into deep water. And this is my last one, and to my enormous surprise, Lana nominated this one for a pushcart prize. This one's called The Old Man and the Sea Deal. You know the Hemingway story, The Old Man and the Sea, right? Most of us do. Santiago, a grizzled fisherman hardened by years on the ocean, goes out to deep water alone in his dory and hooks a monster marlin. The epic battle between them lasts 3 days and nights, wounds and exhausts them both. He finally pulls the fish alongside and kills it, even as he admires it. But on the way in, with the defeated dead giant lashed to the boat, he is discovered by sharks, who rip his treasure into ragged, bloody scraps. There's more, just not here in this poem. Read the story. It's good. Maybe this is the revenge tale. My last day fishing ever in Cook Inlet after 20 years came and went without me realizing it. On that day, I caught my second ever salmon shark. A close relative of the great white, salmon sharks are half the size of their large cousins. Teeth tangled in my net like the first one I caught and released a decade earlier. This one rang dollar signs in my head. I decided to keep it, fetching a good price, I thought, for shark steak in local restaurants. We pulled her on board with hydraulics. She was a 1/4 ton of muscle and bad attitude, with a deck bucket of razors on the business end and a tail that could snap a man's leg on the other. She thrashed when hoisted out of the water, frenzied jaws snapping as she whipped and bucked. Once aboard, she filled the stern while we moved out of the way. She was remarkably calm when we slit her gills, so she would bleed out. Imagine a knife in the lung. Had I remembered, I might have thought to say, "This is for Santiago," but I didn't. Had I thought twice, I may have realized keeping her meant ending her. Just one among many, you might counter. What's the big deal? The big deal was how she fought like Santiago's marlin, how she was bigger than life, even in her last moments. And the biggest deal was that it was mercenary. That year, sharks were everywhere in Cook Inlet. The restaurants had been buying, but sales had slowed. No one wanted her. Except to teach me a lesson about greed, the deal was, it was all for nothing. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Patrick, for taking us out on that deep water with you. Beautiful. And second today, we have Lisa Ashley of Bainbridge Island with poems from her book, Oubliettes of Light, which James Cruz, which many of us might know, said Each poem is a bright window in the night.
Mhm.
Uh, please welcome Lisa Ashley.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And I'm so delighted and honored to be with such a wonderful group of MoonPath Press poets. MoonPath being a very wonderful organization to work with. They had the generosity and kindness to print my very first collection, which is Oubliettes of Light, which was published at age 71 last year. And I started studying poetry when I was 61. So I'm a late bloomer, and a very lucky one. I just want to say quickly that as the first book may be for many poets, I don't really know. Mine is a chronology of my life with a sort of woven tapestry throughout. And it begins with some poems about my paternal ancestors who were survivors of the Armenian genocide. And then it touches on my childhood, my young adulthood, motherhood years, and now and toward the end of the book, elder years, which is now. It's kind of for those of you who might remember Whitman's samplers, it's kind of a box of chocolates or a C's assorted, let's say. I will I did want to say just one brief thing about Oubliette in case you don't know what it is. It is a dungeon used in medieval times that's kind of like a very, very deep well, and with a hole at the top with the only light coming in through there. Prisoners were lowered down into that oubliette and often simply forgotten and came to a very painful and unfortunate end. And the French root of the word of oubli is to forget. So just that for background. I'm going to start with a poem about my Armenian grandmother. The title is A Long Time Ago, There Was and There Wasn't. And that's the way Armenian folks used to start their folk tales, much like ours, our way of starting ours with Once Upon a Time. And there's a reference to Mount Ararat in the poem, and that is a very holy mountain believed to be where Noah landed his ark, and it was in Armenia before it moved to Turkey because the Turks were Armenia's conquerors. A long time ago, there was and there wasn't. For Baser, Blanche, Garabedian, Jem Goshen, 1885 to 1975. She crouched behind the wine cask. Doors crashed, shouts, her mother's screams, Turkish boots pounding, pots cracking. Small brown bird vanished into desert air. She died into silence that held her like a shroud, cloaked in hunger without tears. Wind blew through her eyes. She tipped and slid in the boat in the dark, rumbled for days and days like an ancient rock slide on Mount Ararat. She tumbled into exile. Waterfalls of words pitched over her on the dock. Sounds marched out of open mouths. Dry as dust, this language she would live in for 79 years, yet never speak. Lost in her wilderness of grief, killing the memory of the killings, she forgot how the story went. I'm going to give a trigger warning for this poem. There is a reference to sexual abuse. I want to say before I start, the very first word in the first line is pickelhaub, which is the German word describing the spikes on the top of World War I German soldiers' helmets. Their boots and spikes. Pickelhaube spikes on their helmets, the ghost soldiers come again. They crowd the top of the stairs, heavy boots stomp down and down. My 3 sisters and I huddle in the back corner of the coal cellar, waiting for the metal latch to lift on the thick oak door. Will they find us if we stop breathing? Yes, they will pull the light string. I spread my body as wide as it will go in front of my sisters. I'm sweating. I startle awake, alone in the small bedroom just off the dining room, where morning after morning I hear his footsteps approaching. One parent asleep, one awake, pushing the door open across red linoleum, rubber doorstop sliding with a soft swish. His hands, the boots and spikes. Let's move to a slightly lighter poem now. Well, yes, slightly lighter. So I live with a number of physical limitations which limit my ability to travel. So I pay a lot of attention to my garden and what goes on in my local community right around my house and on Bainbridge Island. And I use my observations to spark many of my poems. And this is one. In the field of significant moments, the crow jumps on the edge of the road. In its beak, not a crab or a clamshell, but a baby bird, naked and pink against the asphalt. The chick dangles by one miniature wing, head lolling on its cord neck. Sparrow mother's frenzied flapping, useless, like the crow's harsh screech at the eagle that raids its nest. No one else witnesses this death. In the nest, heads tipped back, beaks wide like a lucky 4 of diamonds, food is dealt out of the sky. They have more hope than I, blind faith one could call it. Survival instinct, you say. Yes, and isn't that also faith in its own right? Like swallows that swoop among sunset mosquitoes, taking their evening meal, this feeding of one with the sacrifice of another. Memory plays this silent movie all day. Crow, hatchling, mother bird, human witness. Nature incessant in its savage beauty, the whole of it intent on life. I think, yes. So this will be my last poem. It's a brief one. And I think you'll understand what it's about. Night sky. When I was young and our son was small, you painted the heavens on his bedroom ceiling in fluorescent paint, so the stars would shine all night. And now, when I am old and pierced with pain, you clean the house and hang the laundry, wash the dishes every night, and you say, that's fair, since I cook our dinner. And this love you hold for me is a boundless miracle. Like the night sky, I cannot do without. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, I'm the host. Thank you for carrying me away, Lisa. Lovely. Oh, yes. And now we move to Pamela Hobart Carter, playwright, artist, skier, hiker, mother, resident of Seattle for some time now. Check out her bio for the for the rest, the extensive list of accolades you'd find there. But for now, just join me in listening to Pamela Carter and probably some things from Earth at Perihelion.
Thank you, Thomas. And thanks everybody for being here. MoonPath Press, the experience from start to finish, finish being this moment has just been wonderful. Every moment of it. This is Earth at Perihelion, and I'm going to start with the first poem. Her historical geology. For a decade, she led the geology department at a prestigious liberal arts school in the suburbs of a northeastern American city. In the rusty Chevy van, all the college could afford, she drove handfuls of students along winding roads into ancient rounded mountains to study exposures dynamited as if expressly for her lectures. She patting rock walls, inviting proteges to smack hammers against schist for chunks, to hold to looped eyes, to find each mineral she cataloged, especially the garnets, because they were her favorite for their crimson translucence and diamond-shaped facets, and for how they reminded her of the wonder of crystal faces, always telling the minuscule molecular structure in their perfect larger geometries, since that is how matter clings to matter in lattices and sheets and at particular angles, fixed by the tiniest particles zipping around at the fastest speeds in the smallest orbits. She was a different she in those days, allowed to be quieter. Before publishing the tract that told morning runners how to see the history of the landscapes through which they trailed by touch of foot and heave of chest, the lift of ground, the cut of wave, the fall of silt, and so to grok, roundnesses of bays, reposes of composite volcanoes, gently sloped, snow-clad cones, localness of castle rampart stones, also sheer cliffness of divorce, fluvial aspects of love, and corundum strength of mothers in labor, also their own corundum labors, and their own fluvial aspects, and their own sheernesses, and their own localnesses, and reposes, and roundnesses before their own extinctions. Her life in recent years is, and resembles most, clogging clays, sinking through cold meltwater to muddy bottoms of glacial tarns, of faraway frosty U-shaped valleys. Her death will go as unremarked as a single spruce or orca or gabbro. Yet your thorax will fissure, your throat erode, your photos and mementos wash to sea from tears overspilling levees banked around your fissile heart tissue, and will leave no record. This is, we return to the vastness, where we feel ourselves invisible as pinpricks, as flicked cigarette ash, cold on landing on the sear expanse, pinyon pines unlit by our presence, the stone floor unmoved, winds unimpressed. From end to end of every vista, the rocks last as bands, once Saharas, shallow salty reaches of spun-filled seas, estuaries, carving channels through muddy banks, deeper oceans where swam trilobites, land tracked by creatures we've never met and cannot, blankets of hell-red lava. We return to visit ancient time, to descend, to travel back and back and back to a planet hotter, to an Arizona underwater, on the margin of one continent, another, farther, to depths internal and before living cells, to these ages of our non-existence. We return to marvel at this fleet stage, our breathing, aware how recent our arrival, how fast will come our departure, how rare the event of us, grand and literate, fatuous, feeble, animal, fatal, trivial. Take my hand, my whole life. Under the moon we watched grow from orange to snow as it climbed into black. One of us took the hand of the other, the whole life of the other, into her hand. Below that full moon, through that touch of palm skin to palm skin, persisting through the shore walk, through the lapping of crashing waves, although I remember no sound, through these, the sand or the Atlantic, or maybe the spring sky, computed a lunar calculus to sync phases of once distant orbs with this path from us to the horizon, this path of shine across ocean, a moon path. That's not in the poem, but it's in my feelings. This next poem, like Patrick, I was delighted and surprised to find out that Lana had nominated for a pushcart. So very excited. And there's a funny note in here for me, which is that when I wrote this, there was in our lives a Chow Chow mix. And there is currently a Welsh Corgi in our lives, which we knew nothing about at the time. Yearning. I do not want to be remembered for my urine. In this, I differ from the Chow Chow and Welsh Corgi, who yearn to soak the earth, to imbue the foggy air with their unique pee scents, who nose through the streets in search of smells of dogs gone by and recorded for canine history until rain rinses hydrant and trunk. If only I could so shed skin or salt tear as I tread my neighborhood and thus plant in friends' hearts my deeds, my ways, my thinking, my art, civil equivalent of dogs' liquid legacy. This poem came about while I was reading Daniel Mendelssohn's amazing memoir, An Odyssey, and I strongly recommend the book. And he teaches the Odyssey, and he's done a translation of it, and his elderly father decided to take his seminar. So it's their relationship and his relationship to the book and the Odyssey itself. This is when, after, in. When the thermometer reads 15 degrees, when the sea stretches infinitely, when you stare unseeingly, when you expose no sign of weakness, let alone tears, when the smoke of your home chimneys rises beyond the lip of your view, you seek refuge in memory. And at last, after weeks or eons, after the waves jostle, after every horizon fogs, after you drift ashore, after ground gains a sense of solidity, after you stumble into company, you zero in on one another. In that instance, you discover memory matches memory. You are returned.
Beautiful structure in that poem.
This last poem is the last in the book. And I was reading another book at the time by Katy Mack called The End of Everything. And there's an epigraph from her. Each scenario presents a very different style of apocalypse. One certain thing, an end will come, all rendered non-existent, all sentience gone, a tenuous memory of us under intense discussion. How might it happen? A slow darkening, our universe rent, a densifying reversal of the Big Bang energy, an unquenchable vacuum, a cyclic recurrence. We own a moment. Enjoy it with me, our immense home. Before we go, experience a fullness inherent to this.
Mm.
Our immense home. Enjoy it before we go. So, wow, we're doing great on time, I think. But we've gone from deep waters to deep human history to the deep time of the universe here. We're, we're rolling. Wow. Thank you, Pam. And now we go to Oregon. Perhaps Scott's in Lake Oswego, where he lives among the firs and the dogwoods and works for causes of justice. Third Class Relics is his first book of poetry. Yes, marvelous. And I had the pleasure of the book launch that Lana did for Scott and Pat together. What a night that was. So, yes, this first book was a finalist for the Louis Albiso or Sally Abiso Prize. And we selected some finalists for publication after the prize winner. So the stage is yours, Scott.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm so grateful to you and Lana for inviting me to be part of this extended family. I'm reminded of it by that last reading, sense of being home here in a vast, wonderful place, but still in a place where there's affection. Going to read a poem called Sacred Heart to begin with, which is about young love. And it was a poem that I took a long time to write. And it was only when there was a news item from Al Jazeera speculating about the death of Jesus, which was very fascinating, that the final piece that I needed for to make the poem more than just a young love memoir piece work. So, Sacred Heart. I was slow awakening to so many things: my mother's neurosis, the Soviet threat, God's silence. In Miss Chastain's fifth grade classroom, you said nothing, just unhooked the oval charm from your gosling neck and put it into my hands. The look in your black eyes made holes in me I have yet to fill. Sitting on your porch, under the large plywood hand advertising your mother's skill reading tarot and palms, was all I needed to know of bliss to keep a white-knuckled grip on breathing. Holding your hand, watching as you tucked your tawny feet up under the crimson fringe of your skirt, I would have been content never to rise again. But that summer you moved. I only knew because a podiatrist opened an office in your home, the hand above the door replaced by a swinging foot, your room become a doctor's surgery. Word came today that poor Jesus likely died of a blood clot, breaking loose from his mangled hands and feet, stopping his heart. What long haul air travelers may get if they fail to stand and walk about. Pulmonary embolism. Odd to think of Jesus dying of something so pedestrian, so long ago, and yet how palpable the memory of my empty hand, your retreating feet, the ache that makes my later catastrophes pale. This next one's an old love poem. It's called Late Mercies. Between dead stop coffee and your cancer scare, we dodge the rain, ducking into your bungalow. Your hair smells of lavender and heartbreak. I smile, trying to hide my fear of your history, but the care you take with small things disarms me, like thank yous, second cousins, the single candle by your bed. You confessed to thinking you'd never have a lover again. Unwilling to be as vulnerable, I lean back and take you in. Your voice so vital. I fantasized the two of us together long ago, but you remind me that without our exes and grown children, we'd never have gotten lost in the same place. You reach deep into me and pull out a dark bird I didn't know was there. Your eyes dip, asking my permission to release it. I watch you, watch it out of sight. Thank you. This one's called Largo. It's an elegy, but it's also kind of a homage to Hitchcock's movie Psycho. So there you go. There's your alto on your voicemail. You're dead and sounding quite fine. Well, everything overlaps. Everything bleeds into everything else. Physics and mathematics, chemistry and biology, Bonnie and Clyde. What's life anyway but a short stay in a quirky motel? Still, they say it takes on average 8 times longer to accomplish anything than you expect. I learned today that Eulogy is slang for the measure of lack in a wine glass. And I think of you and me and all we discovered together, and I let myself entertain the thought, just for a moment, that we will never see each other again. Oh, I know, even if we got together now, it would be different, you being, dead. That's the problem with grief. Just when I'm sure it's past, like you, go on, say it forever. Here it comes again, like Tony Perkins in Drag, that old Hitchcock staccato, stabbing holes in the curtain of my resignation, every bit as persistent as this pulsing desire that prompts me to keep punching your empty number. I want to do a poem about Portland, which I love deeply, more all the time. This one came as a result of having being at Powell's Books and mishearing something on the public address. The poem's called Winter Sunday in Portland with Franz. And of course, that's Franz Kafka. Dreaming I'm the Virgin Mary, I wake in a sweat when Gabriel auditions me for a role in the Nativity. Remembering that Giotto painted angels using sketches he'd made of sheep, I skip Mass and head to my favorite art supply store in the Pearl. Afterwards, I stroll over to Powell's, where I hear my name on public address. Kafka is waiting for you in the rare book room. Famished, Franz and I split a Reuben at Kornblatt's. We discuss snowfall in the city, how one crow and his shadow equal 2 blackbirds. Passing on dessert, we Uber to Vast Forest Park to glory in the winter canopy. The emerald damp elevates me. Kafka is a tall man. Sitting, his fingers scrape the ground, which, like branches of the avocado, begin to root themselves in the loamy soil. Like my Sheltie resisting a pedicure, my friend withdraws his nails repeatedly, nibbling off the new tendrils. I do my best to pretend I don't see this. You'd expect it of Thoreau, maybe Rachel Carson or Anthony Bourdain, but Kafka? I ask after his fiancée. Which one, he asks. I tell him about my dream and the rude propositions angels are capable of. Franz nods, confessing that sex for him is just as disturbing, that he prefers to pay for it in cash instead of love. I feel like I might make an Oregonian of him until we grab espressos at Stumptown and Kafka sucks his through a cube of brown sugar. He had 4 fiancées simultaneously, too. Shoot. Okay, here we go. This one is going to be in this week in the Iowa Review, which I think is supposed to come out this week. It's the fall issue. This is called Patina, and it's about Queen Elizabeth's the first face makeup, and it has an epigraph. It goes, I've spent all my life in little rooms, Queen Elizabeth I. You're a queen bee trapped in a royal web of dim lit rooms where you're easily managed by men you can't trust nor dare to mistrust. You are golden, a fish in a crystal bowl. They court you, these courtiers, but you want to recede into a black corner, maybe disappear. Your ladies touch up the mask that is your face, made of vinegar and white lead, a half inch and growing. What is hidden is beautiful, they say. What is remote, most affecting. You've become two-dimensional, godlike, ghoulish, virgin as driven snow, as riven as the channel that protects you. You're a myth behind a mat beneath a crown. At Christmas you frown, overhearing a steward's child quizzing her mother. Have they whitened Majesty's face, she asks, or yellowed her teeth? Thanks very much. This has been joyous.
I was back there, back there in living history. Thank you, Scott. Another marvelous reading. We're 4 for 4, I'd say. With just lovely work. And now our fifth reader. I've had the pleasure of reading in the same room with Cindy Veach of Seattle. Yes, the author of multiple volumes of poetry, many fine journals have published her, and poetry coordinator, co-editor of Mom Egg Review. Yes, again, I got to hear Monster Galaxy early on at, what was it, Village?
Book Tree.
Yeah, Book Tree. Yeah, Chris Jarman's place.
Yeah.
And thank you and welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim and Sandy and Thomas and MoonPath. I could not ask for a better home for my book. It's just been an incredible experience. It just feels like a big hug, the whole experience. So thank you. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to read from my book, Monster Galaxy. And this book, it's sort of now in retrospect, I realize is how I grieved my father, who I adored and who passed away in 2019. And his death triggered sort of an examination, an acknowledgement of his flaws and my own internal monsters. So I'm going to just read from various parts of the book. The first poem takes its form from a poem by Betsy Scholl titled Genealogy. And I just got over a cold, so I hope my voice lasts. A partial catalog of my monsters. One of my monsters is the flesh-eating Dimetron. One is a giant chameleon with a 20-foot tongue. One takes the shape of a man with a dirk in my girlhood bedroom. One is the devil Dementia, who took his prehensile tentacle, pried the latch, and emptied my mother. One of my monsters is the good girl. She's huge like a dirigible, huge like the Jolly Green Giant. She can't pick up a pin, can't make a move without wrecking her house. One is the other mother. She slapped her child for biting the baby she nearly bled out to birth. Thus, the monster called shame. One is the crone who begat the bone vampire who feasts on spine, hip, femoral neck. One is forgetting, the other remembering. She was a girl waving to her father, leaving on a trip, his promise to bring her back little hotel soaps. This next poem references an artist by the name of Al Hirschfeld, who did line drawings of famous people that appeared in the New York Times, and he would hide his daughter's name, Nina, in the lines. Bulletproof. Before my belly was a kiln, before episiotomy, before hemorrhage, years before my brother started spiking his thermos with Absolute, before my mother forgot, before my father died, Al Hirschfeld hid his daughter's name in drawings of Marilyn, Elvis, Ella, Ringo Starr. Nina's concealed in gams and jowls. Harmless insanity, he called it. Long before I left the church, before my children left home. And yes, it's true that the Army used Al's Ninas to train bomber pilots to spot their targets. And yes, I've now lived long enough to know what I did not know then, that he objected to his art being used to kill people, drew his daughter with no Ninas and named it Nina's Revenge, that some nights my father took off to wander Times Square, eat at an automat, or so he said. And yes, maybe my brother was right, that he wasn't always true. But some memories are bulletproof. I look back and long for the Sundays my father came home with bagels and the New York Times, and we spent all morning searching for the Ninas in that week's Hirschfeld drawing. Wanting. Allen Ginsberg took a nap in my childhood bedroom before his reading at the college where my father worked. Did he look in my closet, desk drawers, read my diary, pages of secrets in Catholic girl cursive? When I babysat next door, I looked in the wife's closet, dozens of expensive dresses, tags still on. We were house poor, my clothes homemade. I wanted more. I was infatuated with Twiggy, Cher, Verushka, in love with Sidney Poitier, sang to Sir with Love and to my hairbrush. I thought I had a voice. I believed I'd be discovered. Instead, Ginsberg, in my girlhood bedroom, maybe getting high, meditating, chanting. What is proximity worth by itself? I recall his unkept beard, where he sat at our dinner table, but not a word he said. What happened to that crosshair of time? The next year brought the summer of love, riots, assassinations, my monarchy, 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 vermilion stains on snow-white sheets. When does a childhood end? After 200 clover chains, 50 root beer floats? I find our old house on Zillow, close my eyes, picture my room, ivory walls, secondhand furniture, floral spread. Let's see. The Cardinal and his song. The cardinal sang out when I fumbled for my phone, and for the first time I connected this bird with that song. It was like learning a new word, like a light. I didn't get a picture of the cardinal. He crossed the street for another tree. Wait, there's something missing in this story. Let me go back and start over. My father never told me he loved me. He could not speak those words. Now I'll know the cardinal by his song. Okay, this is just one part of the story that was missing. Until you know something, you have no idea. If I said I love you, my father would say, right back at you. Until the day he died, I'd hoped he'd say, I'm sorry, but part of this story is still missing. For a moment on the sidewalk when I connected the cardinal with his song, I wondered, is this what could have been? This felt like walking on the edge of an envelope. So I'm afraid I just added a little blood to this story. Make no mistake, from here on out, I'll know him by that song. What else have I missed? Hold on, let me go back. I think I need to start over. This next poem, it actually takes its title from an online article about what is a shadow. And this was also nominated for a pushcart by MoonPath, which was a huge surprise to me. So I thought I should read it tonight or this afternoon. This patch where the light cannot reach. I see a candelabra of branches or birds crossing landscapes, flickering above fences, laying rails down on so white snow, on cold, so cold. That tatted freight train flashing past, shadow boxing tunnel trestle, approaching Minneapolis, or any city's welcome mat of skyscraper penumbras. I see if I sit on a park bench in memory of a late afternoon in winter, black stripes like a zebra on the loose, and a can of pop someone left, its dark ellipse, its crush. I see ducks casting over the iced mill pond below the malto meal plant, low banks of stubble and freeze, shadow's shadow of daddy longlegs. Oh, to be a thing that doesn't subscribe to age or gender. I tissue its delicate legs. I crush. There was supposed to be a father in this poem. I'll tell you a funny thing about that poem. It was a prompt, and the prompt was the poem needed to include a father. And I got to the end and it didn't include a father, but then it did. So I'm not very good with prompts. This is the last poem I'll read. And this poem was inspired by a poem by Susan Rich called Boquetto, which is about learning a new word. Thank you all. A Glakewiff. Outside my window, men are repainting the crosswalk, putting new lines over old lines. I learned a new word today, an old English word, a Glakewiff, a monster woman, troll lady, wretch, hag. Think the grand high witch of all the world. Think Grendel's no-name mother. And then I learned that this word is the feminine form of a Glaika, a hero, a valiant warrior. Why am I not surprised? I know these tropes, the monster mother, the sexless crone, toothy, bald, clawed, toeless, child hater, child eater. If all witches are women, as Roald Dahl wrote, then I claim that pedigree, but explain why gender makes me witch, not warrior, hag, not hero. What patriarchal alchemy creates monsters out of what I'm supposed to be versus what I am. I have tried to be good, to exist between the lines, yet look at me, my galaxy of monsters. Thanks, everyone.
Marvelous. And congrats on the pushcart nomination. Gosh, we've been doing really well for time. I really appreciate the consideration of each of you for the others. Of course, that's one of the joys of our family of MoonPath too, the respect and admiration. And so before I go on too long with that, it's time for our sixth and final reader today. The final blessing of our poetry day from Katy Ellis, who got her master's degree in English right here in Bellingham, where I am today. Brava. And she's going to be reading, I assume, from 40 Bouts in the Wilderness. The illustrious Katy Ellis.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here and thankful too for MoonPath Press. Like Cindy said, like everyone said, from start to finish, it's just been such a wonderful press to be part of. And yeah, absolute warm hug. So 40 Bouts in the Wilderness. I don't know, maybe that's backwards to you, but I just introduce it as being a book about returning to difficult places, and those places are, emotional as much as physical, and sometimes they're returning to those places not by your own choice, but some are because you want to go back to places. And thinking about it, it was published early in the year, so I've had quite a few readings and been thinking about, so it just makes me think about it more and more. And it really is a book about layers. and about layers of experiences and layers of meanings. The word bout can mean a contest between antagonists, as in a like a boxing match. It can also mean a period of time spent in a particular way, as if you're under a spell. And it can also be a turning or a turning point. And I kind of think that all poems are bouts of some sort. Everybody shared their bouts today. So this book, maybe this is kind of a trigger warning too. This book pivots on my father's aneurysm and stroke in 2012, which really changed my relationship with my family, who were complicit in my excommunication from my childhood church. And it kind of also triggered hospital memories related to my two miscarriages. And also gave me just a greater sense of gratitude for my life and the people that are in my life and the family that I have chosen or not chosen. So the book is also in 3 sections, and the first section is is the 40 Bouts in the Wilderness, which each bout is a tercet. So 3-line stanza divided by like a little squiggly line. And then some of these bouts have footnotes, corresponding footnotes, which tell more about the story as a whole or that particular footnote. The second section is called Pilgrim's Pace, and it's about wandering to physical different countries, Portugal, Turkey, Ireland. And then the third section is called Returnings, and is about kind of a spiritual returning and understanding of the past and kind of looking to the future. So I'm going to read mostly from the second section today, but I am going to read a couple of the bouts. Bouts 1 through 3. I answered to a forgotten name, my lone voice in the understory. Suddenly, our father kept alive by machines. Nurses monitor, grid and graph our father's grisly hibernation. Footnote 1. My lone voice in the understory. Stories grow one over the other, not as hierarchies, but as layers. Understories thrive on loss. The death of a tree stimulates competitive growth in the underbrush. The vegetation of my childhood, for example, stunted by a thick canopy of churchmen, continued to grow past my shunning. Whoever I was, or needed, or miscarried, started in the dampness of the forest floor, where fern, moss, and fungi swell, where holly and dogwood dance in a ring like boxers in a slow grow fight for sunlight. Bouts 28 through 30. Raise your hand if you've prayed not to beams of sunlight, but to the belly of the moon-chalked night. I wish we would have named our lost child after a street not appearing on any map. The same street name with a different cardinal direction makes a homonym of place. A homonym of place. My husband and I had planned to name our son after the winding street we traveled down nearly every day to get home. Because of the topography of West Seattle, the street ends at the top of the hill and begins blocks away at a quarter mile half turn. It continues for 3/4 miles of a mile. It continues for 3/4 of a mile and over a small bridge across a ravine, and reappears for a 2-mile stretch in the up-and-coming industrial part of the city, crammed with stadiums and bars, perpendicular to the old Sears and Roebuck building that was conquered by Starbucks, which now houses an Amazon pickup center. A street that takes me in unwelcome directions, his name across the city in fits and glimpses. Bouts 38 through 40. No roads, no signs. It's no wonder we are lost when our Father reemerges, blinking at the mouth of a new wilderness, and we leave the ring to salve our wounds. We wander here enfolded. So the next part that I'm going to read is from the second section, which is kind of about wandering and searching, and continues with the theme of layers. And it's a kind of a lyrical essay in a way. So it's a long prose poem, again, broken by little squigglies. So I excerpted part of this piece to share with you now. So, fragments from the new wilderness. In one of many follow-up appointments, we learned the 3 layers between brain and skull. Dura, tough matter, arachnoid, spider-like matter, and pia, tender matter. These layers act as a strong pouch, the doctor told us, enveloping the brain to keep the treasure safe. After his aneurysm and massive stroke, my father told anyone who would listen, "Did you know I keep my brain in a pouch?" Mater, mother, Latin. At ye old curiosity shop on the Seattle waterfront, my husband and I let our 5-year-old daughter choose a handful of polished stones from a rustic wooden cart. She chooses 3 rose quartz, 1 crackly amethyst, and a rough, frosty green stone, the name of which we never learned. She places the stones in a tiny complimentary velvet sack, pulls the drawstring tight, and does not look at her precious take until we are safely home. Dura mater, tough mother, outermost protective membrane layer that envelops the brain and spinal cord. When my friend's young son overheard her telling someone that I'd lost the baby, he couldn't fathom how in the world I could lose a baby. Where did she look? He wanted to make sure I'd searched the whole house. They removed and cryogenically preserved a piece of my father's skull until the swelling in his brain subsided. The right side of his head bore an obvious indentation outlined by a horseshoe-shaped incision held together with staples. He lightly circled and circled the suture with his index finger, as if deciphering a brailled clue as to how he came to be in this place, in this body, in this life. Of the 5 chosen stones in our daughter's new collection, rose quartz is her favorite. She names her pet fish, a white cloud mountain minnow, after the stone. Overfed rose quartz swims in a small tank with faux sea plants. A hardy species, white cloud mountain minnows are virtually extinct in their native habitat, but can survive and even flourish in cold, unfiltered fish tanks on a child's dresser for years on end. Pia mater, tender mother, Latin. The delicate innermost membrane enveloping the brain and spinal cord, the pia mater is a thin, fibrous tissue that is permeable to water and small solutes. The pia mater allows blood vessels to pass through and nourish the brain. Did you feed rose quartz today? We tried again after our first loss. Past the halfway point, we thought we were in the clear. Heartbeat, sex revealed in ultrasound, size of an ear of corn, somersaults. Name, we thought this time we were in the clear. They say ancient Egyptians used the amethyst to guard against guilty and fearful feelings. Chorioamnionitis, an intra-amniotic infection of the chorion and amnion, loss likely caused by not being a good daughter, mother, sister, or wife, or by greed, for example, wanting more than one healthy child, or by not being worthy, healthy, or clean enough. a rightful punishment for leaving the church as a young woman, bad luck, an infection of layers. Amethyst can also be worn as protection from self-deception. This one's too special for us to see, my daughter says of the unnamed green stone. She tucks it safe in its dark little pouch. And I'll just end with this poem, which really speaks to the power of nature and is my wish for all of you too, that you can find healing in nature, and nature needs us as much as we need it. So then a robin. In our raw loss, new absence burrowed quickly to rearrange the loam. We three had come from the beach, my husband, our girl, and me, with prayers on our lips and a handful of shells touched by candle wax, when a robin twitched the ivy wall and caught our daughter's eye. Only the day before, she'd reluctantly confessed a wish to find a bird with a broken wing to care for in a little box in her bedroom. So we brought the robin home instead of the newborn boy we'd been expecting to swaddle into our lives. Tiny water dish, a single raspberry, a fleecy blanket nest. By morning, her robin had sprung from the box, chirping alarm to the birds on the eaves outside her open bedroom window. Before we left him in the understory of the hillside forest behind our house, she held the robin. Not like a handful of wild blackberries, not like cupped ocean water, skeleton shrimp darting the palms. She held him like a labored love accomplished, a care she could now let the trees take. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Katy, for those layers of blessings and intelligence and grief and love.
And thank you, Thomas, so much for guiding us through these wonderful poets from MoonPath Press. And before we do anything else, I'd like everyone, please, unmute and show your appreciation and admiration for these fantastic poets who read for us today. Woohoo!
Yay!
Wonderful.
Woo!
Bravo!
Very good.
Absolutely stunning, all of you. So gorgeous. And Thomas, we're so grateful for you and Lana and the work you have done to bring such beautiful collections into the world. Let's give a little cheer for MoonPath Press in general, and the hard work and dedication it takes to support poets.
Yay, MoonPath!
Yay, MoonPath.
Yay, MoonPath.
Thank you, Lana and Thomas.
Yes.
Yes.
We are just so very grateful for all the incredible readings that you did today. I'm going to share with everyone in the chat one more time the amazing collections and the links to them that you can use to make purchases. We hope that you will think about buying for yourself, buying gifts for loved ones, friends, for your local libraries, for your local writing groups, and passing on these poets and their incredible work to others. Bravo, Pat Dixon, Lisa Ashley, Pamela Hobart Carter, Scott Dalgarno, Cindy Veach, and Katy Ellis. And we really, once again, want to say kudos to Lana Heckman Ayers and Thomas A. Thomas and MoonPath Press, and really all the small presses who promote poetry and support poets and their work. It has been such an honor, and I'm so grateful to have been able to have such a fantastic fantastic feast of soul food, as I sometimes call it. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who came out to listen and support and cheer the poets on today. It means so much to us to have this warm and welcoming community here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. And thank you to those who are listening in the future to the recordings. And because not everyone can always make it when it's live, but we will be sharing tomorrow on Facebook, where you can find the recordings in our Facebook group page and in our YouTube archive of all of our wonderful poetry readings. And many, many people will watch them that way. Poets, don't fear about that. We want to tell you a little bit about programs that are coming up. So I will share that next Sunday, November 16th, is our wild card open mic. We often joke, Sandy and I, that the folks who come and sign up for the wild card might have never read a poem before in their lives, and they're putting their work in our hands and taking that chance, and they might read right next to a poet laureate from a state or a city around the US, or a well-published poet from another country, and it goes on and on. The features could be the open micers could be the features. So we encourage you all to come back next week, Sunday the 16th, for our wild card open mic for November, and you be the feature. We'll remind you that spaces fill up very, very quickly, so please arrive 15 minutes before program start time if you really want to guarantee yourself one of those spaces, because they fill up like that. Following that Sunday, we'll have a fourth and a fifth Sunday in the month of November this year, and those Sundays will be off for us. We will take a little break, but we will come back in December. We're very excited, and this is just to give you a little, foretaste of the topic. Our Poets Focus at the first Sunday in December, December 7th, is Moon, MOON. And we've sort of started our moon theme today with MoonPath Press. And we're going to carry on with the moon all the way through the month of December. We have an Irish poet, my friend, Sandy's friend, and dear member, longtime member of Cultivating Voices, Matt Mooney, and also Elise Patchen, reading from new collections that feature the moon. And we hope you'll bring your Mooney poems to share on December 7th. And we will continue that moon theme in our new book showcase and in our end of year holiday open house that we have every December. Thank you again for being here, everyone. You know, the world is filled with tumult, and many of us are feeling it in our communities, in our cities, in our states, in our nations. All the more reason for us to take very, very good care of ourselves, to take tender, exquisite care of our beloveds, and to keep writing our miraculous, soul-nourishing poems for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. So I exhort you, please, keep writing, keep coming out to share, keep coming out to listen and lift each other up. And I wish you all peace, love, and poetry. Until next time. And we'll see Sandy back here with us next time. I'm Kim Parsons signing off. And thank you, Don Krieger, for all you do to keep us going. Bye, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Love and poetry.